Okay, thank you very much. The meeting is now being recorded. So welcome everybody. As I said, we're going to start the session now. So as part of today's agenda, we're basically going to commence the session, which I'm going through right now, and I'll cover some of the logistics information, followed by a welcome message by Razakara. Then we're going to have a down memory lane segment with Nasir Butt and Asif Karim. We're going to have a spotlight interview with Norman Da Costa and Asif Karim. We're going to have an open mic session, which is going to be handled by Bharat Gelani. We will have a closing remarks with Dr. Gupta, and that will basically be the end of our session. A few things that I want to cover from a logistics perspective. So to start off the session, basically we want to have a moment of silence and recite a quick prayer for all the cricketers who are no longer with us today. So I would appreciate a moment of silence and a quick prayer from everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. So basically, to begin with, as I've been saying throughout the session, that as you are joining, that we'd ask everybody to remain on mute to get the most benefit of the session. We're not going to be opening up the line for impromptu questions and comments. So we would appreciate if you have any comments or questions, please use the chat feature in Zoom. That is going to be managed by, like I said, Bharat Gelani. If there's any questions, just shoot them in there, and he will be picking up some of the questions in the open mic session. Again, so we're going to. So sorry, that was one part. The second part of it again is that if you do step away from your desk or your sofa or wherever you are, you turn off your camera. If you are going away to get a coffee or something. That we would appreciate that as well. And like I said, the main part here again is please do remain on mute for now until we get to the final session. So once the closing remarks are done, we're going to basically open up the line for 15 minutes. And this is going to be for the participants today to basically share their comments or thoughts very quickly though. We don't have a lot of time, so we're not going to be able to go into long introductions of everyone. So just a quick remark, if you'd like to have that, we will leave the line open after the closing remarks, and at that point in time, you can unmute yourself and basically go ahead with your comment. If the comment is going to go too long, I will have to unfortunately mute you, and I apologize for that in advance. That that's what we'll have to do because we don't have a lot of time again. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining. If at this point in time, I'm going to basically welcome my dad, Razakara. He had very specifically, categorically asked me not to do a formal introduction of himself. So I'm going to respect his wishes and just introduce him as my dad, Razakara. Please go ahead.
I'm on. Everybody can listen to me. Can you hear me?
Yes, carry on.
Okay.
Can't see you though.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to do my, if you call it a sermon, standing up for whatever reason. So I will begin by saying, fellow cricketers, administrators, and guests, I greet you all with the traditional Kiswahili greeting, Jambo, Habari, Karibu, na Hakuna Matata. On behalf of the East African Cricketers Forum and myself, I extend to you a very warm and cordial welcome to the first ever virtual reunion spotlight series, episode 1, season 1, 2021. We have the honor of having with us veteran cricketers who have meritoriously excelled with the bat and the ball on the field or have excelled as umpires and administrators of the field. They have left indelible mark on the scene of cricket in East Africa. At an opportune time, we will bring the veterans out of retirement and allow them to resume their innings virtually for the moment. As you all know, cricket in East Africa has a very rich history, dating back to the 19th century. Here are a few sample scenarios. Cricket in Tanganyika was introduced by the British settlers way back in 1800, and the first official fixture was played in Zanzibar in 1890. The first cricket match in Tanganyika is recorded as in 1913. Uganda hosted a Kenya side in 1914 and lost the game by 5 wickets. Organized cricket activities in Uganda can be traced back to the 1920s. The 1940s saw the inception of triangular competition. This is much before our triangular competitions between whites, Asians, and Goans. On the other hand, the first match of note in Kenya was the East African Protectorate versus the rest of the world in December 1899. I can't even believe this myself. Along with Europeans versus Asians, which began in 1933. The first combined East Africa team traveled to South Africa in 1958. Of course, we nostalgically reminisce the participation of East African cricket side in 1975 World Cup and 1979, 1982, and 1986 ICC trophies. The triangular and later the quadrangular tournaments were keenly competed and awaited by cricketers and fans in East Africa. There are a number of international teams too to East Africa, such as MCC, India, PIA, England, Nigeria, and others. These games have been meticulously recorded, but they are scattered all over various private and public domains. There does not seem an East African archival domain in existence. Thus, the East African Cricketers Forum has envisioned to collect, preserve, and archive these records under one roof for posterity. A huge undertaking indeed. Our vision is also to manage such programs every quarter or so and physical reunion in the future. In this regard, we solicit solid support from cricket associations, retired cricketers and administrators, and especially indigenous cricketers who are now at the forefront of the game to bat and bowl with us and make this venture a viable one. Natumaini kwamba wazalendo wanasikiliza na watachukua harakati ipasavyo. Whereas every conceivable step has been taken to ensure smooth innings, some technical glitches may have crept in. We hope this will be taken in the spirit of the game of cricket. We welcome constructive suggestions to improve future episodes. Before ending, I would like to thank you all for the support that has come forth. More importantly, the decision to attend this first of many future events. We hope you will enjoy the show, and we look forward to seeing you once again in future programs. Lastly, may I have the privilege of introducing members of the organizing team who have worked tirelessly, sacrificed their weekends, burned the midnight oil, and generally helped to put the show together. It has been an arduous journey, believe me, one that has been enjoyed by one and all. Thank you all, teammates. I now call upon our stock bowler, Asif Karim, to bowl the first over to Naseem and Norman, and they should be able to defend their wickets against the vicious spin of Asif Karim. How is that, Asif? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raza bhai. Before I bowl the first over, I would like to stretch and warm up by congratulating you on your vision for this forum that you've always wanting to do over the years. And today your dream has come true for the first inaugural East African Forum. And really, I give you a big round of applause, and I'm sure the rest of the members also will give you for all the efforts that you have done. And we wish you good health and continued energy to get this program going, as we have agreed to have it every quarter or whenever possible. I'm now ready for my first over. I would like to say that we are privileged this afternoon, evening, to have Nasir Butt join us from UK, who migrated from Kenya in the mid-70s. He was part of the Sarali Muslim Club that produced several legendary cricketers in Kenya. Sarali Muslim Club was the leading club, along with Nairobi Gymkhana, for over 20 years in the 60s and 70s. Nasir Butt also represented Kenya under the leadership of Mahmoud Qureshi and the legendary Jawahir Shah. In today's forum, he will share with us some of the anecdotes, comments, and some photographs and newspaper articles that will appear on your screen. But before we do that, may I welcome Nasir Butt and ask him to make a brief remark as we open this program.
Thank you, Asif Karim, on having me. I thoroughly enjoyed the opening session of the gentleman who spoke, Mr. Kara, and I noted a few things from there, which were really nice. Nice of him to remind us how we started the game of cricket in East Africa, East and Central Africa, so to speak. However, I will take your first. I am warming up as well to take your first delivery of your ball, which I have already taken so many deliveries of very, very famous fast bowlers, spin bowlers, medium pacers, cutters. I mean, to name a few, I would say Zulfikar used to bowl to us, Mahmoud Qureshi. There are others. I have also faced Blaise Dikuna, who was a magical bowler as a spinner, and unfortunately he's not with us. Rest in peace. He was a very, very fine spin bowler of East and Central Africa. Rest, we played cricket on merits. We played cricket on how we wanted to play cricket. We were not. We played cricket because we loved the game of cricket, and the best part was who selected us for the side and who made us to do what we were supposed to do, either from batting number 6 or 7 to the top order batsman to open the innings for Sarali and for Kenya as well.
Thank you.
We enjoyed the good cricketers we had from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Zambia. And they were very, very fine sportsmen, and on and off the field. We enjoyed their company, and the way they played there, the cricket was, that's how it should be played, the hard way. And it was absolutely brilliant on people, say, to see our ex-cricketers, people like Raman Bai, people like Salaudin from Uganda, and RD and CD Shah, CD Patel from Tanzania, Praful Mehta, we used to look upon them to play for Kenya and East Africa. And as kids, we used to go and watch them play in the touring sides from Cricket Club of India, Gujarat 11, MCC. We had various UK teams coming over, and we used to go and Pakistan, for example, Indian teams, and we used to go and enjoy the game. And as kids, we were keen to learn how they were playing. You see,
Thank you.
That was.
Yeah, thank you.
Is it enough?
I'll ask the coordinator to put our first photograph on the screen so that
Yes.
Nasir Bhatt can tell us something about that photograph. Now, you see that photograph is, so you got some legends sitting there.
Make it a bit bigger.
Yes, I can see that.
So can you tell us about that photograph, please, Mr. Nasir Bhatt?
This was a side which Jawahir selected, or the selectors selected, to go to Tanzania to go and play in Dar es Salaam, to go and play the quadrangular tournament. But unfortunately, the Ugandan sides pulled out because of some political reasons. And we played against very tough competitors of Tanzania cricket and Zambia as well. So this is a side which was selected on good merits, and they played very hard cricket. And obviously, Jawahir, under the leadership of Jawahir Shah, we won the game and we won the tournament, and we brought the trophy back home.
Which year was that, Mr. Nasir Bhatt? What year was that?
I think that was 72, 73 season.
And who did you beat in the finals?
Zambia.
Zambia. Okay, thank you. Can you please put the next slide? Yeah, that's again, you see galaxy of stars. I think that looks like Sarali Muslim Club team. I'm sure
Yes,
it's giving you memories. Maybe you can tell us about this photograph.
Yes, this was a star-studded side, which was, I mean, you could select at least six players from this team. It was not
walking.
far off.
Walking.
I don't know.
Got some interference.
There's a bit of an interference, but anyway, I'll continue with the side. This was, as I mentioned, these were at least 6 of these star cricketers from this Sarali Sports Club. This, in particular, this picture, or this photograph, would have easily walked into Kenya side. But normally we had a quota system, and we were selected 3 to 4. But it was such a good team that we could have easily selected at least, as I said, 6 players who could have walked into the Kenya side, representing the country at any time.
Thank you. Is that photograph something of mid-60s? Does it look like a mid-60s photograph?
That's right, mid-60s.
Mid-60s, yeah. At the time, the Sarali Club was a very formidable side in the Kenyan league.
Oh, we played league. We played the knockout competitions, and well, most of the times we were it was Sarali or Gymkhana. If either of the side used to be, but most of the times, as I've got some records of the winnings, we had achieved more wins in the knockout competition as well as the league competition. So we were the most rivalry team we could we could play against was Gymkhana or Premier Club and maybe Kathiawar. But otherwise, you know, we could easily tackle any side any day, all day long.
Thank you very much. Can you please put the next slide? Yeah, this is a very interesting article, and you see a lot of yellow structure that reflects to Nasir Butt. For the members who are in the group, he's one of the unique persons who used to keep the wickets and then come and open the batting. At international cricket, it's a very, very challenging position to be a keeper and then come and open the innings. I mean, you've got Adam Gilchrist, or you had Kalu Vidarana, and then, of course, we have Nasir Butt. This is a very interesting article of 5th February 1968, when Sarali Sports Club beat the rest. And I see Nasir Butt taking 3 catches, scoring a 52. Maybe you can reminisce and tell us about that match.
That's right. I had 3 catches, and it was Zuli and Niranjan Chindiara and myself. We scored 50 runs each to win this particular game. It was a Kenya side versus Sarali, more or less, and it was such a good match. It was on Nairobi Gymkhana ground, and many people. The crowd was absolutely. There was no room in the ground for anybody else to walk in. It was such a massive. It was absolutely jam-packed, and the game started. And Akhil Lakhani was the captain at that time, and they decided to have a go, and we managed to score a few runs, which were a fair target. So we thought, you know, it was achievable, and Zuli and Ruby and all these guys said, well, we can do it, and let's go and see. It was. I started very slowly, and it's self-explanatory, and eventually we got some few runs on the board, and then we decided to have a go, and then we had the rest of the Kenya side out, and that was a great achievement as far as cricket was concerned and Sarali was concerned. I'm winning the knockout competition, winning the league matches, league game, and winning the winners versus rest. And that was a great feeling. Trust me, Karim, it was like winning the World Cup. It was such a great event.
Well, I can see you're still reminiscing and excited about that moment. So congratulations to you. I want to thank you very much for gracing this evening, sharing your thoughts on all that we went through. Unfortunately, we don't have much time. There's a lot more that you can share, but I'll request you to give you your final remarks as we proceed to the next program.
Very well. That's very nice of you. Thank you very much on having your show. And I appreciate all those living cricketers who are alive with us. And I rest in peace all those who have passed away. And I wish Kenya cricket to succeed, and you as the chairperson or as the selectors or the people who arrange or manage cricket in Kenya should do something better. We can do it. We always have done it, and I'm sure with all the support you should be able to do it.
Thank you, Nasir, but very kind of you. May God bless you, and please continue enjoying the show, and hope to have you again once again, so that we can get more stories of the yesteryears for everybody to remember and to reminisce those good days of cricket in East Africa. So thank you very much, and good.
Thank you very much indeed. I will continue. Thank you.
It's now my great pleasure to introduce Norman Da Costa, a renowned cricket journalist in Kenya and later on at the international level. Norman was part of the Goan Institute team that won the Kenya Cricket Association Junior Knockout in 1975. I welcome Norman for this interview and request him to make a brief opening remark as we progress on this interview.
Thank you, Sir. Thanks very much for having me on. Being a journalist, I did not expect to join all you great cricketers and to see my old friend Nasir Butt, who I've played against, including the semi-final of one Kenya Cricket Association semi-final at the Sikh Union ground. And if it was not for Nasir, and I think his name was Jones, I think we would have upset the top seed in this tournament. But it's nice to see all of you guys. And as I said again, as I said before, this was amazing to have me as your first speaker. By right, Asif, I suppose you should have been the first guy. When you consider you won match of the man of the match honors and against Australia in the semi-finals of the World Cricket Cup in South Africa. Never forget those figures: 8.2 overs, 6 runs. Was it? Yeah, 6 overs. Sorry, 6 maidens, 3 wickets for 7 runs. Unbelievable. But anyways, I'm glad to be here with all you gentlemen, and I'm looking forward to your questions, Asif.
Thank you.
Don't roll me any good, please, because I'm too old now.
Thank you. No, I'm sure you'll do a lot of justice to this interview. Norman, for the rest of the members, to let you know, he now lives in Toronto, Canada. Norman, my first question would be, how did you generate interest in cricket and thereafter in cricket journalism? Because you come from a community that predominantly believes, lives, eats, and drinks hockey.
That's correct. Well, the thing was, I lived in the Pangani area of Nairobi, and most of the young boys there, including Nasir, Zulfikar, some of the great players, including Basharat, Sheikh Hassan, they all lived in that area. This was called, there was a place called Milango Kuba, and that's where we congregated around that area. We went on to play cricket at any of the fields. We were always there. And then when I got to the Goan school, of course, field hockey was our bread and butter. Everybody wanted to represent Kenya at the Olympics. And that was my goal too. But obviously I was not good enough, although I played against India and Pakistan at the Kenya B level. They were the superpowers of the game at the time. At school, of course, we got every Wednesdays off to play cricket. Now, who wouldn't want to skip school to go and play cricket? So that's how I really took up to the game. And it's been fine ever since. And I'm glad that I did. And you're talking about...
Yeah, how did you get into journalism?
Sorry.
Journalism.
Sorry?
How did you get into cricket journalism?
Well, it wasn't really cricket journalism. It was journalism, sports journalism as a whole. And hockey, of course, was the main interest. And Kenya being a country that produced some of the world's greatest track and field stars. So I covered a lot of that since I did do sprints for the school. And the cricket, of course, was natural because there are very few reporters who could report on the game itself. And so I loved covering cricket as well. And of course, having played the game, there's nobody going to come and try and influence you on how you should report. I knew the game, so that's how I got into it, Asif.
Okay, thank you. You were covering cricket in the 60s and I think up to mid-70s before you left for Canada. How was the standard of cricket in Kenya?
Well, the standard of cricket in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania was extremely high. And in fact, many of our players did not have to play second fiddle to these quality players who came from overseas. As Nasir alluded to, people like D'Cunha, maybe one of the greatest bowlers ever, spin bowlers. Then you had Dicunya, Gursaran Singh, Ramanbhai Patel, Ghafoor Ahmed, Chandrakant. These were the guys who laid the foundation for Kenya cricket. And after that came the great Jawahir Shah, Zulfikar Ali, Basharat Hassan. Then in Uganda, you had Premji, Kishore Vasani, Banu, and Charlie D'Souza. And Tanzania, of course, people like Sidi and Hardi Patel, Solanki, Praful Mehta, and another great all-rounder in Alban Fernandez. So we had high-class cricketers, and don't forget, most of them were maybe born in India and Pakistan. So it was a natural that they would take up to the sport. So as I say, we never had to play second fiddle to any of the touring teams.
Yeah, thank you. You were just talking about our great cricketers doing justice to cricket. But in the 50s and the 60s, we had a lot of visitors coming from India, Pakistan, and also from England. We had very strong teams coming. How did our players fare against them? And were they good enough, or even in some cases better and they could have played at any level at world level?
I think they could have. Like, for example, you take Zulfikar Ali, who in my opinion is possibly the greatest all-rounder in East Africa. With a bat and the ball, he was amazing. And prior to that, of course, you had people like Jala and Blades. So as far as Jawahir goes, who will ever forget? When Pataudi's team came down to Kenya, and you know, this team included players like Prasanna and Bedi. And Jawahir, the late Jawahir Shah, a gentleman, he scored 96 and 134 against this top-class Indian team. So I'm sure India may have hoped they could have had him in their lineup because he's such a great batsman. But as I mentioned, we had so many of them.
Also,
So,
remember Hanif Muhammad out on the first ball. Was it Jala who bowled him out?
I think it was Jala.
Yeah.
Hanif
Yeah,
became good buddies with me.
It was GB Jala. He was one
Jala.
of the best bowler that time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jala,
And-
Jabbar, they were tremendous for SVIG.
Thank you for that contribution. In 1966, there was a Robert Menezes Trophy that started between the East African countries, between Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zambia.
Correct.
How competitive were those matches, and how did the standards raise? Because you are at that time covering the event very intensively.
I did. In fact, I think that was that added more spice to cricket in East Africa, and the standard obviously went high up, really high. It was really nice to see people like Akil Lakhani maybe in action, and that was a tournament few will ever forget. Some of those outstanding scores or performances. For example, you take, I think it was 1957 in Dar es Salaam, and I was there when Alban Fernandez took 7 for 56 to dismiss Kenya for 84 in the first innings. And then, of course, Kenya, they were all out for 190 in the second. And you thought that Tanzania would walk through Kenya, but guess what? Blaise Dicunya captured 8 wickets for 28 runs. And in the second innings, it was the fast bowler Daljit Singh, who played for Sikh Union, who took 6 for 41. So this is one of the great highlights of this tournament. And then, of course, there were others where Zulfikar, coming in at number 7, scored a century. Then, of course, 1968 in Nairobi at the SVIG. And I couldn't believe this one. It was a scintillating innings of 115 by Charlie D'Souza, who in my estimation was possibly Uganda's finest all-rounder. And he scored 115, and Uganda piled on a massive 436. He also made an unbeaten 52 against Zambia and was voted best all-rounder in the tournament. I then made a trip to Zambia for the Daily Nation. Unfortunately, we had problems with the communication, and some of my copy from Zambia started arriving after I got back to Kenya. So, but Derek Breed, he captained this team. Since there was so much of rain at the time, we spent most of our time, this included the great Mehboob Ali as well. We all started playing flush. It's a 3-game card game. And I think we should never have taught Derek to play the game because I think he fleeced most of his. Okay. So those were some of the great highlights from the East African Championships.
And I think from then on, we also played the World Cup in 1975 for the first World Cup where East Africa participated in that.
Correct. I think we had 7 of our Kenyans in that team. And the team, I'm pretty sure Nasir will remember this, the team should have been led by Jawahir Shah.
Yes,
But unfortunately,
yes.
there was so
Harilal
much
took over.
there was so much of politics involved as who should go as captain, who should go as manager. There was a lot of, it's unfortunate, a lot of things that went off the field, nothing to do with your ability of playing cricket. So Jawahir, they decided to put Harilal Shah, the late Harilal Shah, make him captain because he had studied in England. They felt that his skills, communicating skills with the other teams would have been better than Jawahir. But when you have a class batsman like Jawahir, why would they do that? But there were one, I don't mind saying this. There was another thing was they had to take Derek Pringle. It's unfortunate, but they had to get somebody white on the team. So Pringle comes in, and by doing that, the selectors had the support of the white vote, and they voted for Jasmeer Singh to go as manager of the team. So there was a lot of politics that destroyed this team before it left for England. I mean, nobody expected them to do that well, but they should all be proud of what they achieved, considering what was going on off the field. We reported on it, but they were not too happy with it at the time. Anyways, yeah, so apart from that, East African cricket was great. It was, yeah, top flight players there, as I mentioned.
Thank you. Okay, my last question is, I'm going now, when you've moved to Canada, there was a very popular trophy called the Sahara Cup that became very popular in the 90s between India and Pakistan. And I'm sure you had the opportunity to do some coverage, including, I think you had mentioned to me that you are covering the 99 World Cup in England. How was that experience from being in the Canadian side?
Oh, that was terrific. I meant to go to the World Cup. I went to 4 soccer World Cups. I never expected to get to the Cricket World Cup, but my boss, he said, "Oh no, we need you to go and cover this because cricket was picking up in Toronto, thanks to the Sahara Cup." So this is why I was sent, and that was quite an experience, traveling to all the top grounds in England, like Edgbaston, Lords, and Old Trafford. So it was amazing. It was quite an experience, seeing all the best players in the world. But unfortunately, Canada was not there at the time. But the cricket that was played here, because the bilateral matches between India and Pakistan, that went on from 1996 to 1998. There were some tremendous matches. And one of the greatest centuries I saw was Shahid Afridi getting a century after his captain Amir Sohail. I told him, listen, Shahid, we have not done very well, so just try and block a few balls. But of course, Shahid, you can't tell him what to do. He slammed I believe it was 7 sixes in his 109, in his total of 109. We saw some of the greatest players here. You had players like Wasim Akram, Amir Sohail, of course, Sachin Tendulkar. And it was so nice mixing with these players, especially the Pakistanis. I hope I don't upset anybody here, but it was so great to talk to the Pakistani players. They were human. They would talk to you. They would invite you to their dressing room, have a chat, because you're always looking for an interview. The Indian players, I suppose they became millionaires before their time. They were all big-headed. The only decent player down there, although captain I think was Muhammad Azharuddin, the only decent player among the Indians was Anil Kumble, who unfortunately lost his job as coach of the Indian team. But so it was nice getting together with the Pakistani team. They were always making time for you. And of course, the standard of cricket was the best, as one would expect. And who will ever forget the potato saga, when an Indian fan started hurling abuse on Intikhab, Inzamam ul Haq. He's calling him a fat potato right through the, what was it, Mata Batata? Right through the match. And Inzamam, being a very, very nice, quiet man, he blew his top, and he actually went into the stands and picked this guy up. And Inzamam, as you know, is a big man. And somebody then handed Inzamam a bat. And I think he was going to crack open this guy's head. But eventually they were separated, and we had to get the Canadian police involved. These two troublemakers were arrested. And of course, nothing came out of it, because I think Inzamam in the end dropped the charges. But Inzamam suffered, because I think he was banned for 2 matches after that. So
you had a wonderful experience covering all those events and to be close quarters with all the superstars from India and Pakistan.
that is true. At cricket, yeah, it was terrific. It really was.
Thank you, Norman. Before we conclude this wonderful interview, as again, you have so much to share, but unfortunately time restricts us. And I'm hoping that we get another opportunity to hear more from you. But I'll end this interview with rapid fire questions for you, a one-word answer. So if you're ready for that, can I start?
Sure, go ahead.
What country do you support in cricket?
Oh, I like Pakistan.
Your all-time favorite international cricketer?
International cricketer, Zulfikar Ali.
Who was the best all-rounder in East Africa in the 60s and 70s, or when you were covering cricket in Kenya?
Sorry, I should have mentioned my favorite player, international player, was probably Mahendra Singh Dhoni, and the great East African player had to be Zulfikar Ali.
With which cricketer did you have the most intriguing and exciting interview?
Amir Sohail and Wasim Akram.
Which sportsman or personality would you like to interview if you had an opportunity?
Muhammad Ali.
You have had experience living in Canada and Kenya most of your years. Which one would you prefer, Canada or Kenya?
Kenya, of course. There's no snow there.
Your favorite dish, food?
Oh, rice and curry.
Okay, great. Any final comments on this forum that has been very gracefully initiated by Raza Bhai and the way forward for this forum?
Yeah, I just want to thank Raza. In fact, Raza and I played on the same cricket team in Nairobi for the Railway Gone Institute. And his son, Tanveer, and all of you gentlemen, Kuber, yourself, Asif, are great in your own right. And hopefully we can go forward. And, every few months, we have other cricketers from the other 3 nations.
Thank you very much, Norman, for your time and on all the contribution that you have done. We are proud of you for what you have done for cricket in East Africa, and we wish you well, continued good health, and continued good golfing in Toronto.
I'm going to improve at my golf. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll now hand over to Bharat to take up the proceedings from here. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Asif Bhai. And thank you, Norman, for a very fascinating insight to your cricketing life and
Thank you, Bharat.
journalistic life. It was absolutely interesting, and I can judge by the feedback we had on the chat. So I'll ask you some of the questions we had from the floor. Most of them are cricket related. 1 or 2 would be from journalistic point of view. The first thing that a couple of people have asked, you mentioned Derek Pringle being forced into the team. Was there a kind of a quota system, or why was he brought into the team?
Well, as I mentioned, people were looking for votes. People wanted to go to the World Cup.
Mhm.
So instead of taking people on merit,
Mhm.
they wanted to get votes from the different groups, like the white groups or the Indian groups or whatever. So this is why you have to play your cards correctly to make sure that you went as manager or as captain. For example, how could you drop a man like Jawahir Shah, and I'm sure Nasim will back me on that, and take some guy just because he spoke better English or his accent was better. So this was the stuff that you were not in favor of.
The hierarchy of the Kenyan Cricket Club. That's what
Yeah,
I was
not
trying to
100.
imply.
Sorry?
I was just trying to imply, was there any force being imposed on the hierarchy of cricket to include a certain cricketer, especially for the World Cup? He played in England, the first
Yeah.
one.
Of course, it's an honor to go there. So
Mhm.
everybody, of course, wanted to get there. So they would try and get there by any means.
Yeah.
I suppose it happened in other sports too.
Yeah. Norman, let me change the other very popular question that has come from the floor. Obviously, you're underestimating yourself as a cricketer, but must have been in your early life. What came into your life that you wanted to become a journalist? What was the thinking behind it? Is that because you loved cricket and writing about it, or was it that you wanted to be a journalist and cover all sports?
I wanted to become a journalist. That was like in Form 1. I had already made up my mind. I was going to go into journalism, but I made it very clear to myself that it had to be sports. And thankfully, it was a dream come true for me. How often can you play and report on the game that you play? So in field hockey as well, I had to report on the Gold Cup or the Kenya team. And I was part of the group too. So it's not often that you get a journalist so involved in the game itself.
It's obviously a dream come true, and you've done a fantastic job doing what you've been doing over the last 35 years, obviously still carrying on in a semi-retirement. One of the other interesting questions that came from the floor, okay, let me go back to the current state of play. From a journalist point of view, what do you think of the media coverage, and how do you see cricket progressing in the next 10 years?
Are you talking about Canada or overseas?
I'm talking about international cricket. Somebody on the floor has raised a question. How does the international cricket coverage in media, be it television, radio, newspapers, compare to your era, 50s, 60s, 70s? How has this changed and how do you see it changing for the next 10 years?
Well, the point is, if you take Canada, for example, I wrote a weekly column for the Toronto Sun. And as I said, that was on a freelance basis. I was asked to freelance for the newspaper after I retired from the Toronto Star, who I worked for 28 years. And since they had nobody covering the game, they asked me whether I would be kind enough and report. And I said, sure. So it was a 6-week contract, which lasted 8 years, or was it 9 years? So it was only last year during the pandemic that because of lack of advertising, they could not afford to pay me. So they said, once the advertising revenue takes off, they'll call me back. And as far as the Star, which promoted cricket to such an extent, well, it was because I was there. And they don't even cover it at all. So going forward, as far as places like Canada, you're concentrating on ice hockey and basketball and baseball. So chances of cricket getting into the newspaper are going to be slim. But the way cricket is played, of course, it's amazing. Of course,
That leads me nicely on to the next question, Norman. As a journalist, there are 3 areas, a lot of questions being raised by a lot of our guests today. The 3 areas, what do you think of the technology used in current form of cricket? Things like DRS. What's your view on DRS? We'll mention the other 2 in a minute.
I love everything, that cricket is doing right now. And I've got no qualms with it. I think it's terrific. Unlike the VAR in soccer, which I think is ridiculous. But cricket, I agree with the technology that they are using at the international level.
Okay, and what about the different formats? As a journalist, which is your favorite format? And what format would you have preferred to play today if you were still playing?
50 overs, I suppose. That would be great. Of course, I still think T20, it's a lottery. If you get going, that's it.
But
Test cricket.
The T format, I think a lot of people will say is to do with financial side of it.
May I request,
Which is very true.
can I request the questions to be taken from the floor also, please?
These are questions from the floor.
Yeah, because there are so many questions they have been asked to Nasir Bhatt and all that. Can you review them? Or maybe it is going to direct.
We can do that on the open floor when we open up the mic to the public and they can ask them directly. I was looking at the questions from the floor and there's specific questions asked on this side.
I didn't see any questions like the ones that you have been asking on the chat, so I was wondering.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just finish on one final area. Again, being a journalist and cricket, and what do you think of the cricket batting scandals? Do you think they're still going on? The reason I mentioned that, we were talking today, it was raised in UK, New Zealand chasing 38 runs to win. Okay,
right.
Would they get it in 15 overs? The reason behind it, if they batted 15 overs in 1 ball, ECB don't have to make the refunds. That is the indirect batting.
Yeah, in fact, I think it's still going on. And I suppose it will carry on going. Something like this will carry on until they put their foot down. I think the Cricket Association has done a tremendous job, the ICC, in trying to get all these guys who are into this batting schemes, but it's not easy. It's just like athletes taking drugs. It's very hard to detect how it's being done.
Norman, thank you very much indeed for your time. Before I let you go,
thank you.
Raza Bhai said there was 1 or 2 people on the chat line like Nasir Bhai. Raza Bhai can ask the question directly, what Nasir Bhai wanted to know.
Thanks, Bharat.
Thank you, Norman. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bharat Bhai. I'm going to just scroll through, Norman, a couple of quick questions here. So there's one question that says, how do you see the way cricket is being promoted by East African cricket associations in the schools? So a brief response, please.
I think Asif would be the right man to ask that question, since I left Kenya in '76. So unfortunately, I don't know what's going on in Kenya cricket right now. I mean, as you know, at the international level, it is a shame Kenya has dropped down to the level it has for a country that played in the World Cup semi-final, not being a test nation. That was an amazing feat. And of course, Asif was one of the stars, even though they lost the game. So I think Asif would be the right guy to ask that question.
Okay, thanks, Norman.
Can I ask Norman a question, please? Salim Meha from London.
Yes.
Sure, Salim, a quick one, please. And this will be the final question.
Norman, you just mentioned Malango Cuba. Okay,
Yes.
now let me give you a team that played in Malango Cuba. Just make a note of this. Mehboob Ali,
Yes.
Mahmoud Qureshi, Zulfikar Ali, Frasat Ali, Ashik Hassan, Salim Mehar, Azhar Sheikh, Bashir Kalu, Arif Rashid, Mubarak Ali, Basharat Hassan, Sayyid Shabir Diwan. Now that makes a full Kenya team playing in Malango Cuba in the early
That's right.
60s.
This is why as I mentioned, I played with Nasir, Zulfikar, and Frasat. And I played field hockey with them as well. They were very good field hockey players too. So Malango Cuba, yes, it was the central place. I was right behind that. Do you remember Dr. Hawk's Hospital? I lived right behind.
Okay.
Salim, you are mute.
Yeah, so sorry, Salim, you're mute. Again, with respect to the time, we're about running 15 minutes late, so I do apologize. I know there's a lot of questions, but if you can afford us 5 more minutes for closing remarks from Dr. Gupta, we will then go ahead and open up the line again for any continued sort of interaction with the participants. So again, with apologies, but I will now invite Doctor to please go ahead with the closing remarks. And before we do that, Norman, again, I thank you for your interview as well, along with Asif Bhai and Nasir Bhai as well. Doctor, all over to you.
Thank you, Ma'am.
Thank you.
Tanvir.
Thank you, Tanvir. Greetings to all the luminaries on this panel. I will take everything on a trot, and I hope you will bear with me. The treaty establishing the East African Community was put on paper about 21 years ago, when the founding fathers attested their signatures to the treaty, that is Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. The East African Community has since then grown to 6 nations, including the republics of Rwanda, Burundi, and South Sudan. There has been a quest for East African Community integration so that all countries can reap its benefits. And this was very eloquently expressed by none other than the Tanzanian President, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, on 12th of June this year at Arusha. The mission statement of East African Community lays emphasis on the need to widen and deepen social and cultural integration within these nations. So the formation of East African Cricketers Forum is in conformity with the mission statement of the East African Community. Through EACF, I will call our forum as EACF by its abbreviation, we shall share our reminiscences and vicissitudes emerging from our fields of play of yesteryear. the drive and impetus supplied by the father-son duo of Razabai Kara and Muhammad Kara, in fact, Tanveer, in initiating the formation of the East African Cricket Forum in tandem with the founding members of this forum has enabled us to make a beginning with a shorter format in terms of socio-cultural Zoom interaction, such as ours now. The start or the beginning has been adorned and ably articulated with resplendent deliveries from journalistic paraphernalia of Norman da Costa and the laudable interview conducted with acuity by Asif Karim, who has steered us down the memory lane so ably for that matter. As founding members of the East African Cricketers Forum, if I am permitted to say so, we shall have to evolve a mechanism by which the emphasis on the need to uphold and safeguard the letter and spirit of constitutions by the current elected administrators of the game in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania is given due importance. In conclusion, it is said that growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional. The East African Cricket Forum has to become larger and greater with time. Forgive me for any trespasses in case I've committed them, but to Muhammad Kara and to Raza Kara in particular, hats off for the initiative they have taken, and to the founding members for cementing this forum into a very proactive group. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doctor, for your closing remarks. So at this point in time, we are basically at the end of the official session. If you bear with me for 1 minute, I'm just going to stop the recording. However, as we discussed before, we're going to leave the line open for another maybe 10 or 15 minutes to about 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. And at this point in time, you can, unmute yourself, and if you have any remarks from the floor, you can go ahead. I will please ask that there's quite a few participants here, so maybe if you can keep the remarks short, would be appreciated. If we go into sort of question and answers or interviews, we'll be here for quite a while. So again, with apologies, but I do appreciate everybody's participation, and we hope for your support going forward. So I'll end the recording at this point in time. And